here to inform you on a drug that is so widely used that you probably consumed it already today. It's caffeine, and according to Richard Lovett in his article, Coffee the Demon Drink, it is the world's most widely consumed psychoactive drug. But unlike other psychoactive drugs, it is legal and unregulated in most parts of the world. If you've had coffee, tea, or pop this morning, you've probably already had caffeine in your diet. But don't worry, you're not alone. Researchers for the WebMD article, More Americans Getting a Caffeine Buzz, found that 87% of North Americans get caffeine in their diets daily. I want to tell you about caffeine, where it's found, who's affected, how caffeine works, and how it affects the human body. Caffeine is a bitter white powdery substance according to the Numerous Foundation, and most caffeinated drinks have gone through enough processing that will camouflage the bitter taste. Caffeine was discovered by a German chemist in 1819, and now 216 million pounds of caffeine are extracted every year. And while most of that comes from the coffee or tea, there are other sources, which include the yerba mate and the guarana berries from South America and the kola nut from Africa. These plants grow close to the equator in what is called the coffee belt. So for us in the United States, that means we have to import all of it. Coffee can be quite costly, and many Americans pay more for 12 ounces of coffee than a gallon of gas. Which gets me to my next point. Who is affected by the caffeine phenomena? Researchers for the WebMD article titled More Americans Getting a Caffeine Buzz found that 87% of Americans, adults, and 76% of children have caffeine in their diets daily. And among those, about 68% of them say they're hooked on coffee. Coffee is the greatest consumption of all caffeine, with 71% of consumption. Soft drinks and tea are the second and third sources of caffeine. There's about a 1% remainder for caffeine supplements such as pills. However, soft drinks still remain to be the most widely used source of caffeine for children. Since Americans consume so much caffeine daily, you'd think that they know how it works. Wrong. Hopefully this short clip will explain how it works and how it works after you get through the bloodstream.
Here's what a caffeine molecule looks like. In your brain, there's a chemical called adenosine. Adenosine is the chemical in your brain that makes you sleepy. To your brain, caffeine, which is shown here in blue, looks just like adenosine. So your brain takes in caffeine instead of adenosine. This prevents the adenosine from slowing down the nerves, and you get the caffeine high.
This essentially shows that caffeine is a drug that tricks your brain into thinking that you're not tired, and instead it stimulates it. However, this is short-lived since you feel about half the effects at 6 hours. And at that point, most people are already reaching for their second cup or can. According to the New York Times article called Sorting Out Coffee's Contradictions, Jane E. Brody finds that caffeine can lower your risk of Parkinson's disease and diabetes. The Mayo Clinic also reports that it can temporarily boost performance in memory tasks, and it also shows that caffeine is linked to increased energy, improved mood, and also contains helpful antioxidants. But the cons for caffeine can also be quite debilitating. In the effects of caffeine on human behavior, A. Smith notes that caffeine can reduce the risk of motor movements and can contribute to increased insomnia. And in high doses of caffeine, above 300 milligrams, it can actually cause anxiety disorders. This widely available drug can be found in beverages such as coffee and tea, and in foods like chocolate, and it definitely affects the body. Although people are dependent on caffeine, it is not considered to be addictive. Doctors still recommend that people keep their daily consumption of caffeine under 300 milligrams a day. So 300 milligrams a day would get you 3 cups of coffee, 6 Mountain Dews, 9 cans of Coke, 4 Red Bulls, or 4 cups of tea. So you can get quite a lot of caffeine in your daily diet quite quickly. My hope is that you learn something about the drug that we've all done at one point or another, caffeine. Let me show you guys.
That was pretty good. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, yes it is.